Hello everyone, Tmmgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you another one of my football talk videos. Now, before I get started on anything, I'd just like to hope that all of you guys out there had a fantastic Christmas and Boxing Day. I know I certainly did, spent a lot of time with the family, drank far too much alcohol, had a lot of great food, and just generally had a good time, so fingers crossed you had exactly the same experience as me. But now, Christmas is over, it's time to do my half-season Premier League analysis / award ceremony, because as most of you guys know, this is now the midway point of the season, pretty much the midway point of the season anyway, so I thought it's a pretty good time to get out there, analyse how teams have done in the first half and set it up nicely for the second half of the season. So that's what's going to happen. As for the pictures in the background, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'll probably turf some game up recently between me and my mate John. It'll be alright, fingers crossed anyway, so you'll be able to watch something in the background whilst I talk about football. So the first thing I wanted to talk about very, very quickly, actually, before I got into the greater analysis, is the appointment of Tim Sherwood at Tottenham Hotspur. Now, last week, I think it was, about 4 or 5 days ago, I did a video talking about Andre Villas-Boas and how I thought it was harsh that he was sacked, and how I thought it was a backward step for Tottenham Hotspur, and this appointment has confirmed that thought in my mind, because don't get me wrong, Tim Sherwood, he might turn out to be the next Jose Mourinho. He could be a fantastic coach. Certainly was a very, very good player. Played for Tottenham Hotspur before, so it's always a nice thing when an old player comes back and manages you. Played for other top Premier League clubs, just had a lot of good experience. But this is a guy without a UEFA Pro licensing coaching. So what basically Spurs have done, they've sacked a promising young coach who has not really been given enough time to, embed his new players into the squad. Some of his best players this season have been injured, the most notable of which Christian Eriksen scored in a recent game for Spurs under Tim Sherwood, which, AVB did not have the option to play him a lot. AVB's been doing well in Europe and all of this sort of stuff. Prematurely sacked that very promising manager and appointed someone without a pro licence. And for me, I see that as a step backwards. I think Daniel Levy's made a bit of a hash of the situation, to be honest. And, well, we'll just have to wait and see. Tim Sherwood, like I say, he has the potential to be a good manager. Fingers crossed for him. I've got nothing against Spurs and nothing against Tim Sherwood, and I hope it works out. But it's one of those strange managerial hoo-has and roundabouts that always seem to go on at this time of year. And perhaps in 2-3 months' time, Spurs will regret it. You don't know. That's the great thing about football. But now, let's move on to a little bit of the analysis. Now, the first award that I wanted to give is the award for the overachieving club. And 6 months into the season, there are a couple of good contenders. And they actually both come from Merseyside, which will please all of my friends that I got at university, that I consider Liverpool and Everton to be joint winners of this. And the reason why, Liverpool were top until the recent game of fixtures on Boxing Day. Liverpool, top of the Premier League at Christmas. Who would have thought that was possible? But I have to say, Brendan Rodgers has done an absolutely fantastic job at that football club. When Kenny Dalglish got sacked, he'd had a lot of money to spend on quite a few flops. Players like Andy Carroll were just a complete disaster at Liverpool. Players like Jordan Henderson not performing. Charlie Adam went from hero at Blackpool to absolute melon at Liverpool. A lot of players like that signed for big money on big wages, and they didn't deliver. And Brendan Rodgers came in, and he had a lot of work to do. But what he's done really, really well is he's not just destroyed all what that Kenny Dalglish did. He didn't just cull everyone from the squad, and we can see that through the rejuvenation of Jordan Henderson. I hated Jordan Henderson under Kenny Dalglish. I thought he was such a waste of space. I could not believe that a team had shelled £20 million out for him. But Brendan Rodgers has turned him into an absolutely, well, I'm not going to say absolutely tremendous, but certainly a very, very good performer for Liverpool this season. He started, I think, every single league game for them. He's just been very, very consistent, and that's something that I was not expecting from Jordan Henderson. And this is good news, because as an England fan as well, it's always good when I see a young English player begin to perform, and Brendan Rodgers has certainly done a good job with that as well. He's taken Daniel Sturridge, and this is Daniel Sturridge, who no one ever doubted he had talent. Daniel Sturridge has always been a quality player, but when he was at Man City and when he was at Chelsea, he was always on the fringes. He didn't get any game time. And there was that sort of overriding question whether he would be a big club player or whether he'd be like a top 6, top 8 striker. And that was what sort of his level. And I think the last 12 months has firmly proven that Daniel Sturridge has the potential to be a real top quality Premier League striker. He's done phenomenally well, and he did really, really well without Luis Suarez in the side as well, don't forget. Had a fantastic partnership at the start of the season with Philippe Coutinho. I mean, the understanding those two guys had together was pretty outstanding, and that's one of the reasons why Liverpool are so high in the league. I mean, obviously Luis Suarez has come in and done fantastically well since he's come back from his suspension, but for those games at the start of the season when he was suspended, the Coutinhos, the Sturridges, the Hendersons were what carried Liverpool through and really got them a good start, which you do need a good start to be able to mount a good title challenge. You very, very rarely see teams come back from 10, 12, 14 point deficits to win the Premier League. It's something that doesn't happen very often. So getting yourself a good start is key, and those sorts of players were fantastic at Liverpool. And you look at Liverpool's starting 11 now, they're a frightening side. They really are a frightening side, especially with all of them in form. And the good thing for Liverpool fans as well is that this season they aren't competing in Europe, and that's a massive, massive deal. When you look at Spurs playing in Europa League week after week, Thursday, Sunday, then you look at the Arsenals, the Chelseas, the Uniteds and Cities playing in the Champions League, and getting some very, very tough draws in the Champions League as well, don't forget. So that means that, yes, whilst they have got big squads, those big squads are going to be tested much more than the Liverpool squad is. So it's looking like a good time for Liverpool. Can they win the Premier League? Yes, they certainly can. I mean, I've never thought I'd say that. But the way Liverpool have performed this season, they've convinced me. I mean, they've convinced me through their actions on the pitch. This is not just, pie in the sky bluster. Liverpool have played exceptionally well. I mean, they were very, very unlucky against Man City, in my opinion. They've shown that they can compete with the best teams, and they've shown that on their day they can just stick 5 or 6 goals past teams. I mean, they destroyed Spurs on that day. Destroyed them. It could have been 10-0. Really could have. They're just a very, very dangerous team, and a team that are definitely banging the title race. And across Stanley Park, in the other half of Liverpool, there's Everton FC, who also have had an absolutely tremendous start to the season. Roberto Martinez coming in to replace David Moyes at Everton, it was always going to be a big deal, because whilst Moyes has never won a trophy at Everton, he had years and years of very, very solid success. Got them into the Champions League once, got them into 4th place in the year that Liverpool finished 5th or 6th and won the thing, and then unfortunately didn't get into the Champions League that season, which was very, very unlucky. And for a team like Everton, that is a big achievement, because look at, for example, a good comparison with Everton is Aston Villa, my team. I reckon Everton and Aston Villa are pretty similar sized clubs. Both got, long histories and traditions, both very, very successful teams in their own right. Both have very, very good fan bases in their respective cities. So I always like to compare them. Look at Aston Villa over the last, say, 10 years. We had that one spell under Martin O'Neill where we were very, very close to the top 4. In fact, we threw it away a couple of seasons. I remember one year we had about an 8-point advantage over Arsenal going into the last third of the season. We were sitting very comfortably in that top 4, and we ended up throwing it away. And then, so it's 3 6th place finishes in a row, and then look where we are now. We're lower half of mid-table, haven't got really any big name players. Christian Benteke has been injured and very underperforming this season. It's just one of those sorts of football clubs, up and down. So for Everton to have that prolonged period of stability and success was a good achievement. And for Roberto Martinez, it was always going to be difficult for him to follow that up. But I have to say, he's done very, very well. With a lot of players who pretty much under David Moyes, he's kept the large part of that squad. Obviously, the signing of Lukaku was huge. I still cannot imagine or even comprehend why Chelsea would let him go. Really can't, because Chelsea are desperately in need for a good striker, and Lukaku has been phenomenal this season. So, huge player for him. Great signing in midfield as well, Gareth Barry. I mean, Gareth Barry was beginning to be phased out at Manchester City as more and more big money stars came in, but he does a fantastic job. And I was at Villa Park to watch Aston Villa versus Everton, and Gareth Barry was absolutely fantastic in the middle of the park. Got players like Ross Barkley coming through as well, and Barkley looks a great talent. I'm very, very happy to see, again, another young English player starting regularly in the Premier League and producing. You've got to start these players. No use. Like, for example, a player who we heard big things about coming through at Tottenham Hotspur, Tom Carroll. Tom Carroll has not played a game for Tottenham Hotspur in I don't know how long, and it can only harm their development. You've got to play these young talented players, because if you don't, they're just going to stagnate. Playing reserve games helps no one in the long run. So it's great to see Ross Barkley come in and do so well, and I have to say, he really has played very, very well. So those are my two overachieving clubs, the two clubs that I feel have made the best fist of their respective squads and really done a good job this season. Because at the start of the season, if you would have said, Everton banging the title race and Liverpool top at Christmas, who would have really listened to you? Not very many people. But that's just a great thing. They've really performed well and they're thoroughly deserving of that award. So now that's covered. The next team I'm going to be talking about are the underachieving team. Now there's a couple of options I wanted to go for here, but at the end of the day I have to settle for Fulham. Fulham, when you look at that team, they should not be 18th position in the league with 16 points after 18 games. They've got Dimitar Berbatov up front. They've got Brian Ruiz, a fantastic player. They've got so many. It's got Stecklenberg in goal. They've got Stecklenberg, a real top quality keeper. Got so many good players throughout that entire team. But Fulham just cannot seem to get a grip. They really can't. And obviously that cost Martin Jol his job pretty recently. Got René Moylenstein in now as the head coach or manager. I don't know what his official job title is. And now you've got Alan Kirbishley in as technical director. And I thought that was a pretty interesting appointment, because one of the main reasons why Alan Kirbishley left West Ham was because of the appointment of a similar style of person at the football club, who went in above the head coach / manager's head and made decisions, and Alan Kirbishley wasn't comfortable with that and ended up getting constructively dismissed by Egert Magnusson and his Icelandic cronies. And I found that pretty interesting to see that he's prepared to be the other guy in that scenario at Fulham, so I am interested to see how that works out. But for me, I can't believe Fulham are that low. Fulham have always been a club who've struggled away from home, and I don't know why it is really, because at home, at Craven Cottage, they've done pretty good things. Like I mentioned, a lot of very, very good players. But it has just completely yet to click at that club. And they've really got to fear for their existence in the Premier League at this stage. At Christmas time, when you have under 20 points, you've really got to look and say, something's pretty drastically wrong at this football club. And they don't look like winning football matches. When you see Fulham win a game, you are surprised, and that is never a good thing when you're a football team. They've only scored 19 goals in 18 games, and like I mentioned, the firepower at that football club, that's just not good enough. It just is flat out inexcusable. Signed Darren Bent in the summer, signed players like Adel Taarabt as well. I'm not a big fan of Adel Taarabt. Some days he looks like a world beater, but then most of the time he looks like he can't be bothered, hands in pockets, just waiting for the full-time whistle to blow so he can go home and pick up his paycheck. He's that sort of player. Very, very frustrating. But on his day, again, a phenomenal attacking talent. Bent, Berbatov, Taarabt, Ruiz. Those players on their own should score more than 19 goals in 18 games. It's just not been good enough. When you're relying on absolute screamers from Steve Sidwell to win you games, that's a pretty dire situation to be in, isn't it, that? So Fulham definitely underachievers in my opinion this season. And now they're in a massive, massive threat of going down. And Fulham, for all of the criticism they get, now they're always said, this pokey club in London which has a neutral stand. And, they've been a very, very solid established Premier League club for a while now. So it would be a big surprise to see them go down. But when you look at the relegation zone, you see another quite established Premier League club, Sunderland, bottom of the table with 13 points from 18 games. It's just awful. They've scored 13 goals. To score 13 goals in 18 games, you are obviously going to be in dire straits. And when you on the other side of the coin, they're conceding 30 goals in that same amount of time. 11 defeats, 3 wins. That's relegation form all over the shop there, isn't it? It's just so bad. Gus Poyet has taken over at that football club, and he's had a bit of a mini revival. Obviously beat Chelsea in the League Cup, which in the league doesn't mean a fat lot, but he's picked up results here and there. But Sunderland again, they are massively in danger because they just have underperforming players in every position. They're another club, when you look at their starting lineup on paper, you think, that's a pretty decent side. But again, they're just not delivering when it counts. There seems to be so many problems at Sunderland, Obviously they got rid of Paolo Di Canio, which I felt had to be done. That man just did not fit that football club whatsoever. All of these strange stories coming out of the dressing room that he'd banned tomato ketchup and you couldn't smile at the training ground. And you can tell when stories like that come out, there's something drastically wrong at a football club. So, for me, Sunderland were very, very close to being daubed with the same brush as Fulham as the greatest underachievers this season. But I had to go with Fulham in the end because that's just been atrocious from them this season. So that's those two teams talked about. Now let's move on to a little bit more of the individual players. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the best player in the Premier League so far this season. And for me, there is only one winner of this award, and his name is Luis Suarez. I mean, Luis Suarez has been incredible this season, just flat out incredible. Like I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Liverpool, spent the first, I think it was 6 games off the top of my head, spent them suspended, but he's come back into a team and he has just shown what a great player he is. And unbelievable scoring record, 17 goals in 12 games, I think it was. Absolutely phenomenal scoring record. And what really impresses me about Suarez is he is the complete striker. He doesn't just tap balls in from 6 yards like a Gary Lineker sort of striker. Gary Lineker used to stand on the penalty spot 90 minutes and just wait for the play to catch up to him. Suarez is the complete opposite of that. Works hard. He creates as well. He's just got such technique and style on the ball. It's just unbelievable first touch and dribbling. He can pass with both feet. He's always a threat. He scores headers, he scores tap-ins, he scores 35-yard volleys. He'll take 3 or 4 players on there and finesse it into the far corner. He's just the complete threat. And when you see a lone striker up front, they're often a big lad, in the style of a Benteke. They stay in between basically the penalty lines in the middle of the field. They let the ball come to them, they hold it up, and then they bring other players into the play. Suarez is completely different. He'll drop deep, he'll go wide, he'll come into midfield and pick the ball up, and then he'll make a run beyond. He's just so tricky because he's so varied. You look at how Luis Suarez plays, and for most strikers, you'll have a list of their strengths and you can form a plan to them. You can't form a plan for Luis Suarez because he does so much. Unless you stick a midfielder on him and just say, you man mark Suarez, you make sure that you're always in his back pocket and battle the entire game. That's the only thing that I can possibly think of to try and shut him down. But if you do that, you open up all the space for the players like the Gerrards, the Jordan Hendersons this season, the Sturridges, the Coutinhos. He's just such a massive player. For me, I think he's just been fantastic. Whether he can keep this up for the entire season, it'll be interesting. If he does, I think Liverpool will win the league. That's my prediction. If you have a striker who scores 50 Premier League goals, I think you're gonna be very, very difficult to not win the league with that sort of player in your team. Honourable mentions again go to players like Yaya Toure. I think Yaya Toure is just an outstanding player. Every time I see him play, he's just brilliant. He's so good. Technically fantastic, but he's also built like a tank. He's a beast of a guy in midfield. So you have that sort of player who can go out and put himself about and win challenges, and then when he gets the ball, he can spray passes, he can find little dinks through to David Silva or Samir Nasri or Aguero, and then he hits 25-yard free kicks into the back of the net all the time. Absolutely fantastic player. So Yaya Toure for me was a close second. Wayne Rooney again scored his 150th Premier League goal for Manchester United in the last game. He's been sensational this season in a Manchester United team which has struggled, really struggled in a midfield behind him who's created basically nothing. Wayne Rooney's performances this season, especially considering in the summer everyone was saying he was on his way. I think he's done fantastically well, scores so many great goals as well. He's just a phenomenal player. He's only, I think, second now in the all-time Premier League goal scorers chart for one club, only behind Thierry Henry at Arsenal. So that just goes to show you what a fantastic player he is. He's done very well this season, especially considering that Robin van Persie has underperformed. I think he's underperformed this season. So, that's the other players that I would consider to be up there for player of the season so far, but I'd have to go for Suarez. So, guys, that's the analysis of the season so far completed. I apologise, my voice is just awful at the moment. My throat feels like a cheese grater. I actually had to pause this video several times to cough repeatedly and have a bit of a drink, so hopefully I don't sound too under the weather and you can actually sit and listen to this, because I think it's been a very interesting Premier League season so far. It really has, and I cannot wait for the second half of the season. It's been one of those unbelievable runs where every single game you look at there can be an upset. There's 5 or 6 teams at the top of the league with realistic chances of winning this thing, and then there's about 10 teams who could realistically go down. You know, it's very, very tight at the bottom and very, very tight at the top, and that's an absolutely tremendous thing in the Premier League. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and as always, have a great day.